Hi plant buddies. I'm all bundled up because today we are going to continue visiting some of my local nurseries and greenhouses here in the Twin Cities metro area. Today we are going to check out Bachman's. They have several locations throughout the metro area. They have actually 8 full garden center locations, and then they are also I believe do the floral department for the grocery store chain here called Lunds and Byerly's. So in total, they actually have 35 locations throughout the Twin Cities metro. Again, with 8 of those being a full-on garden center standalone. But I have the car warming up outside. So what are we waiting for? Get in. We're going plant shopping. So here we are at the Bachman's location in Plymouth, Minnesota, and it is currently negative 12 degrees. So let's go inside. Here we have just kind of walking in from the front door. You can see they have a very nice area with all the house plants here. We're starting off with some of these little terrarium plants. There were some pitcher plants, some little succulents, and other little miniature plants there. They had 2 trays of the little miniature African violets, which are blooming beautifully right there. And then I really enjoyed this little mushroom planter here. It was kind of on the small side. The label said 4-inch, but it definitely would not fit a 4-inch nursery container down inside of there. You'd be more in the 3 inches or less category to kind of fit a nursery pot inside of that. But they were really cute little mushroom planters. And we just had some more of the little terrarium plants here that I'm kind of panning over. Another little tray of them right there. I see an English ivy or Hedera helix right there. This other one had some ferns. Looks like some tiny little spider plants on there as well. Kind of fast to try to identify all of those. I think I saw an aluminum plant in there as well. And then they've got a big section of terrarium type supplies here, mosses and stones. Some more of the little planters, and then a lot of little decorations for terrariums. I really liked those brass planters on the right here, and then we're going to jump into some plants with this Dieffenbachia. I believe that is a Dieffenbachia camouflage, possibly. A couple of those. And I immediately spotted this giant Aglaonema here. That is an Aglaonema Snow White or Spring Snow. And we also had some more Dieffenbachias and some of the Lemon Lime Dracaena right there with the really bright green color on it. And we're going to make our way over to this display. They do have some spring bulbs out already, as you can see on the left here, which is always a nice sign that spring is getting close, or closer at least. They had these alocasias here. I believe they were just labeled assorted, so I'm not quite sure of the identity of that one. They had very large, beautiful leaves, and then we had some Philodendron gloriosum right here. And on the lower shelf, there were some Philodendron White Knight. The one on the left had some really nice variegation. We've got some beautiful yellow chrysanthemums right here. And you can see kind of back from that is where the succulents are. And I was kind of panning around just trying to avoid getting any people in the camera here. So some of these angles in this beginning part are a little bit strange, but we've got a beautiful Aglaonema Silver Bay on that top shelf, and another one of those Alocasia to the right of that. And on the bottom we have a bird's nest fern, and then some more of those beautiful Philodendron White Knight. And this one had a fresh leaf, and you can see the fresh leaves on those are extremely beautiful. They get kind of a maroon color along with the white variegation. And as they harden off, those do kind of tend to turn more of just the green color with the white variegation. So they had those. They had some little moss planters to the right. And then we had some flowering plants over here. These are really kind of the types of plants you tend to see in winter and going into spring. They're probably somewhat starting to prepare for the fact that Valentine's Day is less than a month away. So you will see a lot of flowering plants this time of year. And we'll move over to some of the succulents and cacti over here. I'm not sure of all the varieties, but what really caught my eye over here was this monkey tail cactus. They were little baby ones, so they weren't super fuzzy yet, but you'll commonly see these in a big hanging basket with several of them kind of trailing over the edge, and they get very furry. They look very soft and hairy. And then this was some type of an ice plant right here. The blooms definitely caught my eye on that one. Looks like a spike ice plant is what they had it labeled. But yeah, I thought the flowers were really beautiful on that one. And then we have some other cacti and succulents sharing the shelf with those monkey cactus there. Monkey tail cactus, rather. So at this point, there were a decent amount of people in the store, and I was kind of trying to stick to the edges and kind of buy my time until I could get more of the center area. But we're continuing on through the cacti and succulents here. They had a couple of these really cool, like orbs, glass orbs with a bunch of cacti and succulent inside of that. I really liked that arrangement that was in this one right here. And we've got some aloe vera right there, I see. You can see those other orb planters over to the left there. And then they had this really cool aloe vera on the top here, or aloe. And I'm hoping I can read the label on this in a moment here. Kind of forgetting what the name of that variety was. This is definitely my first time seeing that variety. I thought it was really cool looking. But we'll see if I got a good shot of the label here. But yeah, really cool variegation on this aloe plant here. You can see some of those curly air plants in the glass container over kind of right in the center there, and your standard aloe vera to the right of that. I see some cryptanthus. Down here I see some string of turtles, and to the left of those are string of pearls. I really enjoy those types of plants. I have tried growing a string of pearls a few times, and I always end up sending those to Plant Heaven, so maybe someday I will try again. But here are just some more of the beautiful flowering plants, and you can see they had some of the zygocactus, commonly called holiday cactus, and those were 50% off because we're kind of getting more into the spring theme now with all of the flowering chrysanthemums. I see Gerber daisies and kalanchoe on that display behind there, and also cyclamen. But yeah, we're just going to take a peek over at the rest of the cacti and succulents right here. I see some euphorbia, those kind of big baskets. Oh, and actually we'll take a quick peek over at the orchids. You will see those in stores kind of year-round, but I do think they tend to be pretty popular once you start getting into that Valentine's season. So probably some popular type of gifts for Valentine's Day there. They had some yellow orchids down on the bottom shelf, these smaller ones, and then the one in the middle there was almost a peach color. I thought that was really pretty and kind of a unique orchid right there. And then now we will take a closer look at the other cacti and succulents here. They have a few shelves of them. As you can see, we kind of visited that first area, and then just another one of those, another similar big shelf of those right here. And I'm going to pick up some lithops right here. I'm always very tempted to buy these, but I think I've said this in a previous video, I can never keep those alive for the really long term. They do seem to be kind of picky on watering, even more picky than other types of cacti and succulents are. But this one right here, you can kind of see how those split, and like a little new baby plant comes out of the center. And how those work is that new plant coming out, you do not want to water them when that is happening, because what those actually do is they will feed on the old plant tissue from the mother plant basically around it. Those old leaves will just completely die off, and then those little baby plants coming out from the center become your new plant. So those are always a very interesting plant. Again, in my opinion, they are a little bit difficult to keep alive for the long term. We had some various type of jade plants here. The variegated ones right there are very beautiful. I also see some ogre ear jades there. And I think they had the regular green ones kind of all the way over to the left. We may kind of pan past those again as we move along here. And then just a lot of different types of cacti. I missed it on the first shelf, but they both shelves had a selection of planty books as well, kind of on the top layer. And then there are those tall euphorbia fire sticks right there. They had some more like mixed planters of different succulents over here. And also I thought those penguin planters were extremely cute right there. I also really enjoyed that white planter over to the left there. I liked that arrangement. And I'm going to see if I can make out a name on that. Not quite. I've said this in my previous videos as well, but it is always really difficult to try and make those out while I'm doing the voiceover, so couldn't quite catch that name, but you'll probably be able to see it in the actual video. And then some other interesting cacti on this top level here. Again, I'm going to try to see if I can make out the name. Probably not quite, it looks like, but we have some Sansevieria fernwood, and a couple of other beautiful mixed planters of cacti and succulents up in this area here. And just a little pan back down that shelf. Again, those penguin planters are super cute. I should mention they did have 25% off of houseplants and the planters this weekend, so it was very tempting to purchase some plants. Those terrazzo plant stands were kind of cool that I panned past a moment ago. And then they did have a selection of citrus trees here. I thought this variegated lemon was especially beautiful right in the center shelf there. They have a lime up on the top there. And I have never tried growing them, but I do hear that citrus can be a little on the tricky side. Up here in our cold climate in Minnesota, you definitely want to take those outside for as long as you can between spring and fall. They need a lot of light, and if they are unhappy, they may be a little bit prone to getting spider mites. Here we had a selection of ficus. That really tall fiddle-leaf fig right there was actually taller than myself, so it was probably between 6 and 7 feet tall, I would estimate. I see some Ficus benjamina with the green leaves right here, and then a really cool variegated Ficus triangularis right here with the kind of triangle-shaped leaves. I always think those are really cool. I also do hear that they are a little on the difficult side to care for, and judging by my other Ficus, I can definitely believe that would be true. They need a lot of light. They always have some mixed containers of plants up on this front table here, and we kind of skipped over to there. There's a lot of flowering types, but I really liked the one with just the regular green foliage right here. The one with the little white ball decoration in the center. And then they had kind of some bonsai type selections right here. A lot of those are money tree or Pachira aquatica, which I guess you could say that is kind of like a bonsai tree. When it comes to bonsai, I always really enjoy these junipers, such as the one that's in view right now. Um, those are another one you really kind of want to keep outside. Uh, your pine types of plants don't really enjoy living in the house long term. Um, and then we had some more beautiful flowering plants over here. This entire shelf right here is different types of primrose, and they came in a variety of beautiful purple colors. That one's almost a fuchsia color, the one that I picked up here. And I honestly wasn't sure what those were. I did have to kind of pick that one up and look at the label, and then I realized that those were primrose. Those do kind of tend to seem like a popular type of plant this time of year too, kind of that winter leading into spring season. And then I really liked the one with the two different colors on the bloom right here, the kind of white and fuchsia, or white and bright purple one. That was definitely very beautiful. And directly above them, we also have a large selection of African violets, many different colors, and actually it looks like 2 shelves of African violets. So lots of different variety of purples, whites, and pinks for the African violets. And I always really enjoy the blooms that have more than one color. Like you can see the pink and white and the kind of fuchsia and white in the center there. But my favorite one was this one that mainly had white and then the dark purple around the edges. That was definitely my personal pick for my favorite flowers on those African violets right there. And back across on the next display here, we had some philodendron ring of fire, and then some really beautiful philodendron black cardinal right here. I was kind of tempted to pick one of those up. I recently saw in a video on YouTube one of those very dark colored philodendron black cardinal sitting next to one of the lemon lime colored plants, and they were a very beautiful color combination. So I wouldn't mind having one of those and maybe display that next to my philodendron golden crocodile, for example, with that really lemon lime color and the really dark color. They just look really beautiful together. And then this was just some really large peace lilies or spathiphyllum. And then they also had a couple of really large calathea pinstripe right here. These must have been about 2 or 3 feet tall, I believe. Very large leaves. And then we're going to kind of skip over into getting a little bit into that Valentine's theme here. They had some mixed planters. That's a Calathea dotty with a Peperomia obtusifolia variegated. A beautiful white striped Dracaena. And I also see some umbrella plants in these mixtures here, or Schefflera, the ones with all the multi-lobed or multi-stemmed leaves there. And then they had some beautiful flowering anthurium. Again, another one that tends to be kind of popular around Valentine's with the red flowers. Very beautiful red croton in that top one there. And bromeliads right here. I really enjoy the red ones that have the white. Again, with that kind of double colored flower, those always kind of tend to catch my eye. And then some other various bromeliads down on the bottom shelf there. And then we're going to kind of hop over to the center display here. There were a lot of people around when I was filming this, and I was just, again, kind of trying to frame this in a way that would avoid getting the people. They have a couple of these really large metal trees that they have all the hanging baskets on in the center of a couple of their larger displays. And then you can see on this this display we had some Sansevieria and then also some ZZ plants. the green and the Raven ZZ plant, the dark colored one there. I will always highly recommend those for anyone beginning in their plant journey. ZZ plants and also Sansevieria are pretty easy care. They don't require being watered super often. And then we had a black pagoda lipstick plant, and then I'm going to zoom in on this goldfish plant here, which I thought was very beautiful. And there was another type of goldfish plant right here. I just wanted to get it up close a little bit on the blooms, and you can see that that plant gets its name from those blooms. They kind of look like little goldfish. We have Pothos Marble Queen that we just passed by. And then back down to the ZZ. And then we're going to cross over. We had some philodendrons, Dieffenbachia, and a couple of really large, beautiful Aglaonema on this other side here. I noticed the one on the left was labeled as Emerald Bay, and the right is Silver Bay. And I'm just going to kind of show a leaf from both of them. You can see that the Emerald Bay doesn't have the extra little stripes in that outer section there. I've seen those labeled Emerald Bay before, and I always just assumed that they were Silver Bay. But seeing them next to each other, I can finally see the difference. It's just that outer section of the leaf there. Let's see here. We've got some big, beautiful peace lilies, or spathiphyllum, and then there was a big shelf of kind of basket-style cover pots on the other side there. Here we do have some of the juvenile Monstera deliciosa, and we had some cute little Monstera Thai constellation right here with the variegation. And I might show the price on that one. Those used to be a super expensive plant, and about a year ago those really dropped in price when they started showing up in the big box stores, and it looks like that little guy there was $24.99, I believe, for a 4-inch planter of the Monstera Thai constellation. To the right, that is Monstera adansonii. I think that is the wide form. It's got some kind of wide leaves there. And in the center, we had some planters. There was a string of dolphins hanging down here, and hopefully you can kind of see I was trying to block that so it would show up a little bit better, but their little leaves look like a little tiny dolphin. So, hence the name, of course. So, we had some more Monstera deliciosa, adansonii, and then over to the left, that was a beautiful Dieffenbachia. I'm not 100% sure of the variety of that particular Dieffenbachia. It might be snowcap, possibly. I'm not a super professional on my Dieffenbachia varieties, unfortunately. And then you can see a big Monstera deliciosa leaf right here, and that one actually had a little sport variegation over on the upper right that I kind of zoomed in on there. I thought that was kind of neat to see. It was a pretty large leaf as well. Very nice leaf. That beautiful Dieffenbachia right there. And then we are going to go over to the left, I believe, next. And I can already see one of my favorites, my favorite genus of plants, the Aglaonema. And these are the Aglaonema red Siam. That one in the middle was just huge. I didn't look and see what size planter that was, but it was a very large one. And then these, I believe, are Dieffenbachia Camille, with the very, very white leaves with just a little bit of green around the edges there. And then just some more of the Sansevieria or snake plants over to the left of that. I always enjoy the Sansevieria that have the yellow edges. Those are one of my favorites. I like that really bright pop of yellow. And then we have a spider plant hanging up there. The big metal tree. And then we also had some lipstick plants right here. We had a regular green one, and then I believe this one with the kind of twisty leaves might be the twister lipstick plant. And then there you can see those basket planters. Again, I was trying to kind of avoid people. There were some people just over to the right of me, I believe, as I was filming this. We've got the little face planters, and then a shelf here that had quite a few varieties of pothos on it. I believe that one might be Pothos Enjoy. I think most of those were the Pothos Pearls and Jade. Those two look very similar to one another. We had the regular golden pothos on the bottom, and then we had a philodendron. This was labeled as Rio. It is kind of hard to tell those striped philodendrons and the heartleaf family apart from one another, but I think that was Rio. That was what the label said on it. And then you can see the beautiful neon pothos right there with the bright leaves. Those neon plants just always really pop. They really stand out in a sea of green plants. And then we had a Syndapsis right here. I believe that one is a Silver Lady, or at least that is what the label, I believe, said on that one. But yes, you can see all the many varieties of pothos plants on that shelf. And in a little bit here, that one in the background, we'll go and take a look at that. Those were mostly philodendrons on that one. And then this one right here in front of me had just a very large variety of Calathea and Maranta. We have a Maranta Lemon Lime on the top there. Beautiful Calathea lancifolia, also called the rattlesnake Calathea. And if you notice those kind of maroon colored things, those are the new leaves coming out. Calathea makoyana right there. But I always think those look really cool. Again, over to the right there, I always say they look like little taquitos coming out of the middle of the Calathea when those new leaves are coming out. We've got the green Maranta, the silver band Maranta, and then another beautiful Maranta Lemon Lime. And I think we will take a look at the label for this Calathea right here on the other side of this table. I think it's Helen Kennedy is the variety of that one. This one was kind of down in a decorative planter, and I didn't want to try and pull that out. We have got some Xanthosoma, the ones with the really white veins right here. That's another one I haven't tried growing before. They kind of seem like they may be similar to like an Alocasia as far as growth and care for those. We had some beautiful pinstriped Calathea up on the top here. Those ones had very pink coloration to their stripes. And a little bit I'm forgetting the name of that one, that variegated one. I know I hear that called the Never Never plant, but there is another kind of more scientific name. And then the ones with the beautiful purple on them are Calathea dati right there. And we're going to take a peek and see if I was correct. But yeah, it looks like that green with silver, that is the Calathea Helen Kennedy right there. That one has some really cool patterns to the leaves. Jumping over to the philodendron right here, I see Philodendron Pink Princess, and then a beautiful Philodendron Pluto. I believe I may pick that one up. No, actually that might come later, but you can see those leaves come in like a really beautiful kind of bronze color on the Philodendron Pluto. And then down on the bottom I see some Gloriosum, Philodendron Ring of Fire, and then the Philodendron Filietiae with the really pointy leaves right there. Back up to the Philodendron Pluto. I want to say those were White Princess with the variegation right there. I'm pretty sure they had the little pink edging on the leaf petioles, which is kind of how you can tell those various white variegated philodendrons apart from one another. And that one actually appears to be a White Wizard. on the other side here. Yes, yeah, those were all philodendron white wizard over on this side of the shelf. And we had philodendron silver sword, and looks like some more of the Adansonii and pink princess up on the top shelf here. In the background there, you can see the other big metal tree with the hanging planters on it. I noticed there weren't any shoppers over on that side, so I kind of took that opportunity to pan up and show the big metal tree over there. And then on the bottom shelf here, it looks like we have a mixture of the lemon lime heartleaf philodendron, and then also the philodendron Brazil. Brazil would be the ones that have the multicolored leaves, and then the lemon lime, of course, is the one with the just plain lemon lime colored leaves. And then on the other side of the pothos there, that bottom shelf had some really nice trailing ones. If I were in the market for those, I would definitely have grabbed one of the ones that were already starting to trail down towards the floor there. And again, I spotted that sign. Again, this weekend, it looks like all of the indoor house plants and the pottery are all on sale for 25% off. So a good time to pick up some plants or some pottery if you're in the market. We had some more philodendron pink princess right there. And then these appear to be either the white princess or white wizard. Can't really quite see down to the leaf petioles. I want to say those were white princess. I'm pretty sure they had the pink stripes on their leaf petiole. And then here is actually where I picked up one of those philodendron Pluto. That one had a fresh leaf coming out that was just starting to unfurl. So probably in a few days that will be a beautiful bronze colored, fully open leaf on that one. That is one philodendron I've never had in my collection. It's another one of those, what I call the sawtooth leaf philodendrons, where they have the really long leaf with the jagged edges. And part of the reason I don't have one of those is because those take up a lot of space. Those philodendrons of that type, they just get really wide as the leaves size up. This was my favorite shelf of planters right here. As you may already know, I really like my white planters. That's kind of my color theme, is just white and neutral colored planters. And I really liked that one to the left here that looked kind of like feathers. And I also really enjoyed the one with the kind of fern leaf looking to the right of that one. The one with the wheat pattern on the bottom here is really cool too. I was kind of debating which planter I may want to purchase as I was looking through this section right here. And then we'll kind of hop over and we're going to look at some of the planters and pottery here. I like how they have them kind of arranged in a color story. We started with the white, and then we go over to this other shelf that was kind of the yellows and oranges. And some of these are really cool. I always kind of like yellow planters when I see them if they're really bright yellow. But again, they just wouldn't kind of match with my decor and my planter theme with my white planters. But here we have another beautiful Dieffenbachia, and then a couple of a little bit larger Monstera deliciosa, as well as the really tall one that is some sort of a Dracaena. They had a bunch of macrame hangers on that wall, and then you can see across there you get into the green and blue planters. We'll take a closer up look at those in a little bit here, but I'm just right under that big metal tree, and I can see a staghorn fern and some pothos are hanging down on this side of it. That large one there is a ponytail palm. And then we have some more of my favorite Aglaonema right here. Those are some more of those Aglaonema Snow White with the white variegation on them. And up above there were some smaller examples of the ponytail palm. And then this really beautiful kind of tricolored Diefenbachia right here. It has a lot of white variegation, but I also see the dark green and some lighter green. And I'm hoping the label will show right here. That one was called Star Bright. I just thought that was really pretty. It almost has kind of three colors to it. And right above that is a really nice hanging philodendron Brazil right there. And also a really cool pitcher plant that had some really nice large pitchers on it. I always think the pictures are really neat on those, and I really like that they get kind of that bright red color to them. I like the variegation on that big philodendron Brazil that's hanging down there as well. And then we had some more beautiful aglaonema. Those are the silver bayed on the shelf. And then I'm going to show this gigantic black pagoda lipstick plant here. They had a few of those, and they were so heavy that the pots weren't even kind of hanging vertically. As you can see, that was kind of tilted. But this lipstick plant was just huge. And I want to say, it should show right here, but I want to say they were only like $24.99, which seems like an extremely good price for such a giant lipstick plant, especially that really cool black pagoda. You can see the darker patterning on the backs of the leaves on this side. It's got that really maroon color. Here we have the more of those beautiful aglaonema silver bay, and to the right, the more striped one, those are the aglaonema golden Madonna. I do have both of those in my collection. And then we'll pan back up here. There was a staghorn fern on the right, some more of those pitcher plants, and then I just wanted to show the front side of the leaves on that giant lipstick plant there. As you can see, there is a pattern on the top of the leaves, but it's more of a green with a lighter green color, whereas the backs of the leaves are the red with the lighter green color in the patterning. And they had some pottery kind of displayed in here. Just wanted to, again, pan up and show there's a couple more of those really large lipstick plants. Again, I can't believe those are only for $24, or $24.99 rather. And we're going to take a look at the ones in the green pots right there. Those were a variegated Aurelia. Kind of unusual looking. I always think those kind of look like a bonsai in a way, just because they almost have like a kind of a trunk and then your leaves more so up on the top there. But they're really pretty. I like their variegation. And then we'll just take a peek at the back of this display here. There were some Dracaena, this really large, beautiful lemon lime colored Dracaena. And then I believe the smaller ones on the bottom that were dark green with the stripes of the lemon lime, I think those are actually the Dracaena named Dracaena lemon lime right there. And then we'll just take a quick peek closer at the rest of the pottery right here. So that, again, we're going into the kind of green themed section right here. They had the green version of the one that looks kind of like feathers, and then I really like that, the one with all the lines in both directions that was just going off screen to the left. They had the fern leaf one, the green version of that right there as well. And then we will move along into the blue planters. I really like that you can find multiple colors of some of these planters. I spotted the same design in a couple of the different colors as we kind of made our way through the various colors of pottery. And then I really enjoyed this planter with the leaf patterning on it. It's kind of a light blue color. That part is glazed, and then the lower portion of the pot is just a matte finish. And I am kind of tempted to potentially pick that one up. It is a little bit more blue than kind of the white or neutral colors, but I think it would fit in well with the rest of my kind of white and neutral colored pottery that I have in my house. We had a lot of different various shades of blue, some beautiful cobalt blues and some lighter blues. We had some different patterns. And we have some really bright yellow and orange planters over to the right here on this display. And then a beautiful rubber tree or ficus right there. I believe that is the ruby version of the rubber tree. A really large bird of paradise here and a fairly large Dieffenbachia as well. And then we'll just kind of end the planter selection here. They didn't have a ton of purple, but this next shelf was kind of for purples and grays. They had some various kind of bust planters up at the top there, some cherubs. Really loved the purple one on the right there, that kind of lavender color. I thought that was a really beautiful color. And then you can see we just have some of the kind of gray colors of planters here. I thought this one on the right was really neat looking. It kind of reminds me of a mushroom. And it had like kind of a giraffe patterning on it, but I like how modern the shape of that one is. So that one's a little bit tempting to possibly purchase as well. With the size of the opening, though, it does look like it might only fit a nursery pot that is about a 5-inch. So it wouldn't really fit a 6-inch as I assume, at least. It just, that hole doesn't look very big, the opening on the top of the container there. But then we'll hop back into the plants here, kind of the main event. There's a couple more of those round displays over here. And I believe we're going to start off with some peperomia right here. Actually, maybe we'll come back to those. I think we're going to start with the ivy over here first, or Hedera helix. The top of that, there were a couple ferns, and then there were many varieties of English ivy on this shelf. A couple of those I will pick up and look at a tag, just because they were a little bit more unusual. Starting with this very speckled one right here. I'm hoping I might be able to read that. I'm sure that will show up in the actual video. With the voiceover, it's a little hard. I want to say it definitely started with an L. That might have been like loopy or louvy, something along those lines. But I thought that one was really interesting. It wasn't your typical English ivy. They had some Syngonium Maria right behind those. Some more ferns and some more variety of English ivies on the bottom here. The one in the center there I thought was kind of interesting as well. It had a little bit different variegation than you normally see on your English ivy or Hedera helix. And I've got to do it for Richie over at the YouTube channel Growfolds. Hedera helix! Hopefully I got a peek at the tag on that one. I want to say it was like gold ingot, I believe. I should possibly show that in a moment here. Yeah, golden ingot was the name of that English ivy, or Hedera helix. Hedera helix. And then they had some more of the more common varieties of Hedera helix or English ivy. I really enjoy the ones that have kind of a yellow coloration to their variegation. It's just something about those that kind of pops more to me when they have the variegation in the yellow color. And then it looks like those were some Syngonium milk confetti, the very white leaves with the little pink speckles. And then they had some Alocasia varieties on the top here. I want to say this was Fedora, and they might have thrown a different name on that as well for the like a high variegation or that sort of thing. But and then these ones are the Alocasia Black Velvet with the large dark velvety leaves here and kind of silver veining. I thought those were extremely beautiful. We had some more ferns on the bottom, as well as another alocasia kind of hiding. It looks like that is a crocodile fern. Oh, and then also alocasia stingray. You can see where that one gets its name. In particular, that green leaf, it has kind of that stingray shaped leaf with the kind of little tail on it. We have some pilea on the bottom right there. Some beautiful Hoya carrii with kind of heart-shaped leaves on the middle shelf of that back one there. And then I think we're going to... Oh, I almost forgot. So they have these cute little starter plants here. Those were Philodendron Prince of Orange, and then they also had Philodendron Ring of Fire. I've never spotted these little packages like that before, and I thought they were kind of neat. Looks like, as I read the packaging, kind of the intention is to kind of keep that in that little miniature plastic greenhouse until it outgrows it. And then you would, of course, take that out and just pot it up like a normal philodendron. But I thought those were kind of cute, kind of a cute idea to have the little miniature plastic greenhouse on that. That would definitely help with humidity and kind of help those plants to grow faster. And then I was just taking a quick peek at that one. It looks like that one is the Ring of Fire right there. So those were kind of cool, little baby plants there in their little miniature greenhouses. And we will go back and take a look at the other side of that shelf, but we're going to take a look at this one. I see spider plants. We had some palm up on the top on this side of that shelf. I might get close enough to the tag to read what type of palm that was. Not quite in the voiceover, but again, I'm sure you'll be able to make that out in the actual video. Right in the center there was a beautiful croton, a couple of them, as a matter of fact. We have a peperomia, or no, actually, this is not a peperomia, and the name is escaping me. It's in the Calathea family with the variegation there. And then behind it, those were some Tradescantia pink panther. We'll look at the bottom just a little bit here. That looks like they had a selection of different herbs right there. Another croton, a different type, and then some more of the palms down on the bottom. And kind of both sections had some of those spider plants, and then we had some Schefflera or umbrella plant on this side. The variegated one on the bottom shelf, that one really caught my eye. They had mainly green ones, and then this slightly larger one had the variegated leaves on that Schefflera. I thought those were very beautiful. And then just a little bit of an up close on the little spider plants there on the bottom shelf. Passing the Schefflera again, and the Tradescantia pink panther. The pink panther variety of Tradescantia has got those tiny little leaves, and it looks very nice with that lavender colored pot there. I also thought the little bear planters or pots on the left were really cute on that top shelf. Those green ones right there, those are ant plant. We had some red varieties of Aglaonema right here. I want to say that was Aglaonema Red Valentine. And then some little zebra plants to the left of those. I love that vibrant red on those Aglaonema. Very beautiful. And you can see as those get a little bit more matured, they go from kind of the speckly leaf to a lot more solid red coloration on their leaves. And then I spotted another really cool alocasia right here. And I'm going to take this out. We should get a peek at the tag. I know most people that are really into alocasia would immediately know what that variety is. I just cannot think of what it is, so hopefully I should show the tag. Oh, the cuprea, of course. Yes. So the Alocasia cuprea. You can see it has some beautiful red coloration on the backs of the leaves, and then a dark, almost black with silver on the fronts of the leaves. But yeah, very, very beautiful plant. Really like the silvery color on the fronts of the leaves. So yeah, I just had to take a peek. It looked like that was the only cuprea that they had in stock at the moment. So if you're looking for one of those for 25% off on top of that, head on over to Bachman's in Plymouth. And then these codex plants right here that I'll zoom in on the codex, those are ant plant, which I feel like those have become very popular lately. I really see those ant plants anywhere from big box stores to the smaller nurseries like this, or the local nurseries like this. We're going to head on over to that last round display here. We had some little string of dolphins right there, and the ones behind it were a string of frogs. And I'm going to pick up the one with the silvery leaves here. I'm forgetting what the label said on that one, but I should show that in just a moment here. We had leopard lily is what it was labeled as. I do feel like I've seen that go by some other names as well, but I guess leopard lily is what we will call it. We had some Hoya and also some more peperomia on this shelf. You had your kind of splashy Hoya in the back there. We've got the variegated, variegated obtusifolia right there. And on the bottom, a couple Dieffenbachia made their way onto this display. And then we have the zebra plants with the really stripy leaves right there. I see a watermelon peperomia on the top there. And then they had two different colors of the plant called baby's tears on the top shelf here. We have the beautiful lemon lime, and then also in the center of those, a kind of silver colored one. And then just a little bit closer look at those beautiful Hoya carrii with the very heart-shaped leaves on the back of that display. I also see some of those Pilea peperomia down on the back of that, bottom back of that one. And then we're just kind of taking another quick peek past the Hedera helix or English ivy display again. And then I wanted to just kind of pan up when I got a moment without any people to show how large the space is from. I'm near the back, and that's back up toward the front door that I was showing right there. And just panning over some of these displays again right here. Bachman's does also carry a huge selection of outdoor plants once we get into that time of season. Obviously that space outside is empty right now, but as soon as we get into planting season, you'll start to see perennials show up out there, and then eventually annuals, bushes, and trees as well. And I did want to kind of pan over, we're passing the citrus trees again there. Between this indoor and that outdoor area, they do also have a huge kind of decor area. It wasn't as full as normal at the moment. I think they are really pushing at the moment to kind of transition from all the winter and Christmas stuff over into your spring and that sort of thing. So it was a little bit empty in there at the moment. Right here, I also spotted, I wanted to show a close-up. I noticed that one of the zebra plants had a bloom on it. I honestly don't think I've ever seen one of those bloom in person before, so just had to take a quick peek at that. And then I did want to kind of show some of these cyclamen varieties up closer. Another with two colors on the blooms, which again I said are always a little bit more appealing to me, but these pink ones are very beautiful as well. And they had some kind of unusual varieties that we will take a look at. This one with the red in the center, those white portions on the leaves were actually like textured. I've never seen one of those before, and I thought that was really cool. We had some little mini cyclamens right here, kind of the more terrarium size plants. And then a larger one of the one with the really textured leaves. Again, you can see that lighter colored area, and that was almost like it was embossed. It was like textured. And I also had never seen a purple one before, like right there. I thought that was really cool. But my favorite was definitely the pink with the like kind of textured white in the center of each petal. Um, I thought those were extremely beautiful. Yeah, just look at that. I don't know if the camera is really picking it up, but that lighter colored portion like is taller than the rest of the petal, like it's thicker right there. But yeah, beautiful selection of cyclamen. Again, those tend to seem to be kind of popular around Valentine's Day, it seems like. But so there's the big decor area, and then I just wanted to take a quick peek outside. So these sliding doors here would usually let you out there, and this would be just filled with perennials over to the left. This would all be annuals. That area also wraps around that other side of the building there, and that far side would be where the bushes and trees all live or hang out and wait to get purchased. All right, plant buddies. I made it home from Bachman's in this freezing cold Minnesota weather, and I'll show you what I picked up at the very end of the video here. And no, it is not plants this time. As you know, I'm trying to stop hoarding plants and kind of overfilling my house with plants, but I did learn some really interesting things about Bachman's in the course of making this video. And of course, I left my notes down here. Um, so of course I wanted to figure out, how long Bachman's has been around, all that sort of stuff for the video, and I was a little bit surprised. It turns out that Bachman's was actually founded in 1835, and it was actually started out as like a farm, like for produce. They eventually moved their way into flowers, moved their way into the retail world. I think their first retail location opened in like the mid 1920s. And over time, they just eventually became like a full on garden center. They're also very well known for like floral arrangements. Is probably what a lot of people think of when they think of Bachman's here in the Twin Cities metro. So yeah, I was really shocked to find out that they've actually existed for over a century. But we'll take a quick peek as well at my items that I purchased today here. So they did still have a few little Christmas items um, hanging out, and they were like 90% off on clearance. So I got this hanging kind of gazing ball here. It could probably be used as like a Christmas tree ornament, but I'm gonna hang it somewhere. I'm not really sure where yet, but I just thought this kind of purple colored one was really pretty, and I'll probably put that somewhere in the basement, I think, but I'll find somewhere to put it for sure. And I also picked up a new planter here. A lot of my plants are getting to the point that they're in 6-inch or larger pots. So I do need some larger ones to accommodate that. And I thought this one was really pretty. I think we did take a close up on this while we were looking at the planters at the store, but you can see it's got this leaf design. And I do kind of tend to stick to like white or neutral colors for my pottery. And this one is like a little bit of a light blue kind of color washed over that upper part, but I thought that regardless, it was still a good fit with the rest of my collection. So And I just thought the leaf patterns were really cool on that. But I think that should pretty much do it for today. I hope you enjoyed our little shopping trip to the Bachman's location in Plymouth, Minnesota. If you did enjoy this content, please don't forget to hit that like button. I would also encourage you, please consider subscribing to my channel for some more plenty content. I do post a long form video every Saturday. And if you have Instagram and would like to follow me on there, I am on Instagram, same username as here. So just planty_buds. But yeah, again, that should do it for today. I will see you guys next Saturday and have a great rest of your weekend. Bye.